There were no weaknesses on that particular Ohio State team. It was one of the greatest teams they ever had assembled. They had, like Pete Johnson and Champ Henson at fullback, and they had the two-time Heisman Trophy winner at tailback, and Archie Griffin and Corny Green, and guys like Bashnagel that are still in the pros, and Ward, and they quite frankly they were undefeated. They were quite frankly being built like some teams are occasionally, as being unstoppable or the team of the decade, and they had a right to be, because they had fabulous talent, and on film they were just absolutely awesome. And it was a case. I think what helped us was the fact they were so good that this wasn't going to be just a powerful Buckeye team. Our kids were playing against maybe one of the best teams ever assembled in the Big Ten and maybe in the United States, and quite frankly they deserved to have that, not only at that time, but their players went on to become great pros, and that's a good test of how good a football team they really were. And they were number one in the nation, undefeated. I don't know if they were unscored upon or whatever, but it was an absolutely awesome ball club that came into East Lansing. And ABC television has listed this as one of the 10 greatest games ever televised, and I doubt that in the next decade or so that game is ever going to be considered anything other than that. It was just an absolutely phenomenal ball game. Well, we felt we had to get them into the fourth quarter. The only chance we had to win the ball game was get them to the fourth quarter, and we were aiming with that. Baggett had made a great drive just before the half to get us into field goal range, where we kicked the 3 points, which was important. A lot of things that were forgotten in that ball game in the first quarter, I believe, or the second quarter. I guess it was the first quarter. We actually hit a bomb to our wide receiver for a touchdown that he dropped. He flat out dead dropped it, and that eventually was the same pass we threw a little bit later that was caught for a touchdown. So we should have had 10 points at half. In the fourth quarter, the very first part of the fourth quarter, we came back with the same pattern that we had dropped earlier. It was a play-action pass, and Charlie Baggett then hit Mike Jones, who was alternating with Mike Hurd at the flanker spot, and we hit him for a 60, 70-yard pass. And that was at that particular time, that was the first time that I think anybody in the stadium realized that we might win the football game. We were running a little bit of option football at that time with Baggett at quarterback, and Levi Jackson was the first kid that we signed at Michigan State when we became the head coach. He was the player of the year in Detroit, and he was a sprinter and a big kid and playing fullback for us. What I noticed is that their All-American safety, by a kid by the name of Kuzi, I believe, or something along that line, the play before this big play of 88 yards, he had gotten banged up a little bit, and he went out of the game. And that probably didn't seem very significant, except the fact that the safety man against option football is responsible, sometimes for the quarterback or sometimes for the fullback or whatever, and they put a new kid in for one play. We ran a very straight inside handoff option. They thought Baggett was going to carry the ball or pitch it, and we gave it really, really quick to the very, very fast fullback. Now, I think Michigan State was responsible for developing the quick fullback concept in the Big Ten, because most of fullbacks were big, slow guys that blocked, and we went just the opposite. We put our fastest guy at fullback, and he hit an opening inside on the option, and everybody was running to protect against Baggett in the pitch. And the free safety that had substituted was just not aware of his assignments nearly as much, and Levi ran right by him. And the only thing I remember going down along that sideline was 88 yards. I remember, your mind works funny, I remember that he was the sprint champ of the city of Detroit, and I just didn't feel anybody was going to catch him, and they didn't.